Left, home of no-holds-barred commentary, plus interviews with fascinating people, some of them top experts, others simply with interesting stories to tell. You'll never know who'll show up at Lean to the Left. Now here's your host, Bob Gaddy.
Today we welcome Dr. Deborah J. Burris-Kitchen, a professor of criminology and department chair at Tennessee State University in Nashville, who's just published Exposed, a critique of American society, of love and social injustice through the eyes of a sociologist. It's a memoir of short stories and poetry that takes the reader on an expedition highlighting her struggle to find love and earn respect as she crashes against wave after wave of toxic masculinity. Dr. Burris-Kitchen lays bare women's victimization as they continue to fight for empowerment and equality, and exposes what she says are the inequities of the American caste system with a desire to provoke social change. Her previous publications include a book titled Short Rage, an autographical look at heightism in America. She also has written extensively about racism in prisons, including From Slavery to Prisons, a historical delineation of the criminalization of African Americans. Deborah, thanks for joining us on Lean to the Left. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, tell us a little bit about your background and what you've been up to, Deborah.
Okay, well, I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana, and went to Indiana University for my undergrad, and then went to Western Michigan where I earned my PhD in sociology. And I grew up in kind of an activist household. My father was quite the activist during the 60s, during the civil rights era, and was one of the Methodist ministers that kind of partnered a lot with African American Methodist ministers to try to eradicate racism back then. I just feel like, because of that background, I've tried to continue in his tradition of fighting for social justice. This new publication that we're here to talk about today is just another way of me, I think, to promote social justice and revisit my love for writing poetry and short stories.
Okay. What are some of the topics that you cover in your book, Exposed, Deborah?
Police brutality, the American caste system. People don't like to really talk about our system as being a caste system, but in reality, if you break it down, it is a caste system where you're born. For many people, is where you stay. Also, domestic violence, hate against people who are different from what's considered the norm. For example, people who are Black or brown, or people identify as gay or lesbian, or people who are transgendering, or people who are like myself, vertically challenged. At 4'8", I feel like I've experienced a lot of. That's why my one book's called HIJACKED. I feel like I've experienced a lot of disrespect and maltreatment based on my size. So just dismissing people and the maltreatment of people because they don't fit the normal stereotypes, and just judging people because they look a certain way based on their physical characteristics.
Okay. The heightism thing kind of got me because I'm not very tall. I'm 5'5", and I never thought about heightism as a thing. But I guess for a lot of short people, it is, especially if they're really short, like a lot shorter than me. So is that something that you deal with personally?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me as much as it used to be, when I was a lot younger, and people assumed not only because I was short that I didn't know much, but because I looked really young, they thought I was, really naive, and, how can you be a college professor and teaching, these classes, and you're, this little tiny thing that looks like you're 20.
So little tiny thing. How tall are you?
I'm 4'8".
You're what?
4'8" tall.
4'8". Oh, okay. Well, my mom was 4'11 3/4, and she insisted always that she was 5 feet tall. And then, of course, as she got older, she shrunk. As I guess we all do. I don't know. I haven't actually attempted to check my height because I'm afraid that maybe I did shrink and I don't want to know it.
Yeah. I used to insist I was 4'9" until Simone Biles.
There are a lot more serious isms than height-ism, don't you think?
Yeah, there are. There certainly
Yeah,
are.
like racism would be a good example.
Oh yeah, there are. There certainly are. Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%.
Sexism would be another one.
Absolutely, 100%.
And I guess you write about all that stuff, right?
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. How can we transcend stereotypes based on height, race, poverty, transgender, etc.? How can we do that?
I think we need to start seeing people as individuals and not as stereotypes. Get to know people. It's not easy. I think it's easier for us to just kind of say, this is somebody because they look like this. This is exactly who I think they are. Like, for example, young black men, people think they're dangerous, or a female, they think that they cannot be in a position of power sometimes. They don't, if they are in a position of power, it confuses people. But I think we need to stop prejudging people and just get to know who people are as individuals, find their hearts and souls, what they're passionate about, just get to know people. When I used to teach race and ethnic relations when I was out in Southern California, my students would be like, well, aren't all Asians like that? I said, well, how many Asians do you know? Well, I know one. Is that Asian like that? No. So then why would you assume every Asian's like that with the one Asian you know? Because, we have these stereotypes about people. But if you actually know people who are from that race or from that social class group, and you get to know them as a person, you don't assume, they're not like that. So why are you still assuming that people that you don't know that fit those physical characteristics are like that? Are those stereotypes.
Now, what about women? How can women reclaim their life after being, victims of sexual assault? You sent me that as a question you would like to ask, and it kind of opened the other question in my mind. Did you ever experience that kind of thing? And if you did, how did you deal with it?
And I was personally a victim of rape. So one of the stories that I wrote was about my own experience of being raped. And how I dealt with it was I just kept quiet about it. I didn't share that experience with anybody, except for someone I was dating at the time who blamed me for the rape.
Okay.
So of course that relationship ended very quickly. But so I felt like he was the only one I told that story to. So I never shared it after that until this book. I mean, this was my first really time of putting it out there. This happened to me writing a poem about it. But I think it's very important for women to reclaim their lives by telling their stories. Because the more women tell their stories about being sexually abused, the more people will understand the gravity of being sexually abused, and the more it lets other women know that they are not alone if they're victimized, and that they don't have to be shamed, they don't have to be embarrassed, they don't have to blame themselves, and they can put it out there and surround themselves, with people that love them, that understand what they've been through, understand their victimization, and not have to hide. And if someone doesn't understand that, and doesn't take you for who you are and judges you because of your victimization, then they don't need to be in your life anyway. So I think by telling the story, you can reclaim yourself back, and you're not hiding a part of yourself that you don't want anybody to know about because you feel that you were responsible for it.
So why is it that women are so reluctant to come out and tell their story, especially to the cops.
Yeah, it's a whole blaming the victim culture, I think, that pushes women into silence. Especially, I used to actually in Southern California, I worked with the police department because back then there weren't a lot of female police officers. So I worked as a rape crisis counselor at the hospital when they did the rape kits. I would be with the women in the hospital room working with, making sure, they had someone with them when the rape kit was being done. And
Uh-huh.
when the police officers talk to them and when they go to court, it's they have to re-talk about it all over again. And you have to
Right.
convince people that you were raped. It's not the other way around. You have to convince them that that you didn't do something wrong, but someone victimized you. And I think that's what makes it really hard, is just having to readdress the whole thing, have to relive it, and then you have to convince people that you were the victim.
Do you know, is there a difference between how women are treated in cases like that by female judges as opposed to male judges?
I really don't know because I haven't done enough research. I mean, I would hope that they would be more empathetic and more understanding.
Hmm.
But I can't answer that question, to be honest with you, because I've never looked into that. That might be some interesting research, though.
Yeah, it just struck me. You talk about toxic masculinity. Is that how you phrase it?
Yeah, toxic masculinity.
Yeah. What is that?
We have a society that is so male dominated, and our power structure is predominantly men, white males, are usually in the positions of power more so than women. There's
Hmm.
a power balance between men and women, economically and politically and socially. And that leads to women being treated
Hmm.
poorly by men because they feel that they are privileged. It's kind of like a male privilege scenario where and I'm not saying all men, I'm kind of treading on thin water here. It's not all.
No, you don't have to be on thin
There's
water.
just
Uh-uh.
there's a culture of males are superior to females, and males have certain rights that females don't have rights to, even to the point where they think that they can dictate what a woman should do with their body. Just like with this whole
Yeah.
Roe versus Wade thing. Why are men
Right.
in positions of power sitting there making decisions on how women, what women can do with their own bodies?
Well, it always cracks me up when I see pictures of the proponents of abortion restrictions. You have a picture of the Governor McMaster from South Carolina, where I live, signing one of his hateful anti-abortion bills, and in the background with him are all white men.
Hmm.
Um, Amazes me. It just amazes me. Um, I just don't understand how it is uh, that these guys, these men, and I have to say they're
Hmm.
Republicans. Let's just put it where it is.
Yeah.
It's Republicans, 99%, uh, and they're standing there with their holier than thou looks on their faces, while this guy signs this bill that takes away rights from women and girls. And it's not right, and I just don't understand. I don't understand that any more than you do, probably.
Right. And then just, a lot of times these politicians that talk about how much they love their family and they love women, next thing you know, things come out about how, they have all these allegations against them for sexual assault and,
Right?
all kinds of,
Yeah.
yeah. Like even Donald Trump about what he did to women, physically assaulting women, and women still voted for him.
Oh yeah. That just that blows my mind.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. The same with the Hispanic vote. I don't understand why. I mean, here's a guy who wanted to put up a wall to keep people from coming into this country people who were in dire straits in their home country, um, uh, fleeing violence and so on. And he puts up a frickin' wall to stop people from coming in. And then you've got these women who are applauding that. I don't understand that. And not just women, but then you've got Hispanics who are supporting this guy. I don't understand that for the life of me. I just really don't.
No, it doesn't make any sense to me either.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what do you hope the reader will take away, from your book? You spent a lot of time and effort working on this thing, right? What do you want people to kind of walk away with?
Well, I would hope the reader kind of develops some empathy for the other, better understands the negative impact that and harm of dismissing other people and hierarchically ranking other people has on other people. For example, women, poor, people of color. I mean, by constantly dismissing them and disregarding them and making legislative decisions dictating their lives. I mean, I hope that people understand that that is very harmful and impactful, and it leads to all kinds of things like police brutality. It leads to suicide. It leads to self-hatred, self-loathing of people who are in these categories that have been marginalized by people in positions of power. And it also leads to, I think, a culture of people who hate, who are disrespectful, who are jealous, who fear the other. And I just want people to get out of this book that we need to stop doing that. We need to live our lives as one. I mean, we are one people in this country, and everything was promised to everyone in this country. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness is for everyone.
Right.
It's not just for, people in positions of power and predominantly the white male. So they're preaching hate all the time has led to just this chaotic system that kind of closes off freedom and certain rights to people who don't fit into who they are. And if people can get that out of my book, and then actually have empathy and want to fight for an equality and justice for everyone, then that's my hope. If I even get 10 people to say, hey, I'm going to go out and do something about this, or I want to talk to somebody about this.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm just wondering, your bio says that you're an activist who fights against violence, racism, exploitation, greed, and capitalism. You want to explain that? That's a lot you're fighting against.
Yeah, it is. And I used to be very, very active when I was younger. And now I tell my students that I give them the information in the classroom, and it's their turn to go out and fight the battle.
Yeah.
Because I'm too old for this. But I used to actually take busloads of students to downtown Los Angeles to protest, police brutality cases.
Oh, yeah.
And, I used to, walk the streets, with signs just like it, right next to everybody else.
Yeah.
And, like I said earlier in the interview, I learned this kind of from watching my father. This is what we were taught to do.
Okay.
If something's not right, you speak out about it.
Okay.
You don't just like you're just as guilty if something immoral or wrong is going on if you don't say anything. Silence is just as dangerous. So I always feel like I have to say something. But right now, what I mostly try to do is, just in my classrooms, make sure that I challenge my students to think about the injustices, to critically think. And especially being at an HBCU, when you watch their faces, when you talk about the disparities in the prison population between, blacks and whites, and when you talk about the arrest rates, and, the arrest rates of African Americans is like 35%, yet they make up 70% of the prison population. You have to bring up, when you bring up stuff like this, I think it, gets students to critically think about issues of racism and systemic racism in general and systemic economic disparities and how this leads to the marginalization and criminalization of people because we just buy into, well, this is the way that it has to be. And of course, blacks are more dangerous than whites. And you have to point out, no, it's not. And if they get angry enough, then I tell them, okay, it's time for you to, be the next, what was her name? The one that did the inauguration, Amanda Gorman. It's your turn to be the next Amanda Gorman. Go out and, and protest about this. This makes me mad. 1 in 4 of my brothers are locked up in prison. It's time to be angry.
Yeah.
So I try to always, have my students critically think about the inequalities and the systemic racism, that's existing in our society.
Okay.
And encourage them to vote.
Yeah.
Please go out and vote.
Sure. Now, another of the hot button words in that sentence is greed. You talk about fighting against greed. My feeling has been for a long time that this country, everything that goes on in this country almost is based on greed, especially when it comes to political stuff. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of the political maneuvering is based on how can I get and keep my piece of the pie. We become such a narcissistic society, and it's all about how can I get mine. And, we don't care about what that does to other people. People have, like, it used to be a big deal when someone was a millionaire when I was younger. I remember it's like, wow, there's millionaires.
Right.
Billionaires. What in the world do you need billions of dollars for? And we've got people with billions of dollars that just keep building on those billions while other people have absolutely nothing in a country that's, so rich. And then we have rich people, with those billions that, try to figure out how to get out of paying taxes so that they don't have to help the poor. What's it going to hurt them to pay their fair share of taxes so we can feed school-age kids? People don't even want to feed kids and, free lunch in school. Why would we do that?
Right.
Well, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we feed children who need food?
Exactly.
Right. And
then the last word in that sentence is capitalism. So are you against capitalism?
What our capitalism looks like? Yes. I consider myself a democratic socialist. I really think we need to redistribute the money. And capitalism is based on a system where, you're rewarded. Well, you supposedly produce something and you're not really the one physically producing it. You probably produce the idea. So you're not manually doing most of the labor probably. But so you produce something and then, you sell that and you convince people that they need it. And, you sell a product that not only do you convince them that they need it, but then it's a product that you have to throw away in 2 or 3 years, so that you become addicted to this product. Like, look at this laptop, Zoom, right? Can any of us live without cell phones, laptops, Zoom? We all have to keep continuing to invest in these products that they get us involved in using or needing. And then, we're stuck in buying it, and they jack up the prices, they price gouge us to the point where we have to take out loans with excessive interest to buy products that we need to survive, like cars, because we don't have decent transportation systems. Who can just go out and buy a $30,000 car? You have to go out and get a loan and you pay 17% interest or whatever to, and you're paying $60,000 for a $30,000 car that should probably really be about $10,000. It's just a whole, it's a mess. Capitalism is a mess.
Yeah.
Right. Well, anymore,
Well, if you can find a $30,000 car, at least a new one, for sure. What goes through your head when you see? Well, before I get to that, what are your thoughts about the direction the Republicans are trying to take this country right now? Come on, let's go.
I really think that they
let them have
it. Promoting so much fear and hate of anybody that is not rich, white, and predominantly male. I know there's some females, but they're buying into something they shouldn't be buying into. So I'm saying rich white males that are really benefiting from the system the way it works now. They're trying to get people to buy into it based on you got to hate those other people because the reason you don't have anything is because of them. You don't have anything. You're living
Yeah.
out here in a trailer in rural Tennessee because blacks are taking your jobs, or blacks are, we're giving equal rights to women, or we're doing all these things. So you got to hate on those people so that we can give you
Right.
your country back. And it's, yeah, wow.
Right.
And it's
Uh-huh.
not their country. They're trying to give their country back to them, but it's not their country. It's already been taken over by this group of people that, just wants to continue to, take people's money, like continually exploit people and hoard all the wealth. I love people's old beat up cars that have Trump stickers on it. It's like, really? Do you think
That have what?
those old beat up cars that look like they're on their last leg and they have a Donald Trump sticker on it?
Oh, Trump thing. I know.
It's like, what do you
The
think
same
he's going
thing.
to do for you? What do you think?
I know. I know. I live in South Carolina. All right. Now I live in the tourist area of Myrtle Beach. So, it's pretty, I wouldn't say wealthy, but the people around here are not hurting that much. But you go out in the sticks and there you find old, nasty looking, broken down trailers. And they got Trump signs in front in the yard.
Probably
Great
with
big
the
ones.
Confederate flag next to it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, they do.
Yeah.
And it just amazes me. I don't understand. I don't understand how people can vote against their own interests. They get sucked into this bullshit that the Republicans spew, and they vote against their own interests all the time. And
the Republicans are trying to make it like a black-white issue. I think what happened when Trump, or one of the reasons Trump won, was because there was this underlying group that was scared, about people of color actually, rising and getting their piece of the pie in American society. And they saw Obama become president, and Trump just filled these people's minds with hate. It's like, we got to hate him now because look, they actually became a president of the United States. We've got to, we got to do something because it's not our country anymore. Blacks are taking over, women are taking over.
Yeah. So, what goes through your head when you see female politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of those other wackos that the Republicans trot out? When they suck up to Trump and support the Republicans' right-wing social initiatives, what goes through your head when you see that?
Oh, it just makes me sick to my stomach. But then I also kind of feel sorry for her. I almost feel like she's going to be in a straitjacket soon. She looks like she's just about ready to have to go to,
You mean MTG?
Recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she's gonna have to be put in a recovery center soon because she's wound really, really tight. But yeah, I mean, Trump's never gonna do anything to improve her life. I mean, he's not interested in that. He might be interested in doing other things with her, but it's not going to be improving her. Because every decision he makes is about him. He's a narcissist. Everything he does. And everything he preaches is narcissistic, sexist, racist.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just full of hate.
Oh, yeah.
Full of hate. I mean, it's ugly. And for her to support him is ugly. Like, it just makes her ugly. And that's my...
I know. I mean, I wanted you to do that. I mean, she's not the only one. I mean...
Oh, I know. I know. Mm-mm.
Oh man, what did you think? Now this episode is going to air in a little while, but and so by the time people see this or hear this, it'll be past the time of thinking about the State of the Union message that Biden gave in February. But during that thing, if you recall, Marjorie Taylor Greene started yelling "liar" Some of these other wackos were chiming in and doing the same thing, right? Did you see that?
I did. That's what made me think they look like they're about ready to be taken off in a straitjacket. I mean, there's.
Oh man! And then there was,
It's the mentality
and then there
storming
was.
the Capitol. It's that same mentality when they were storming the Capitol.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I was really happy to hear that guy that put his feet up on Pelosi's staff member's desk got sent to the clink for I don't know 6 years or something. And then that guy that went through the halls of the Capitol carrying a Confederate flag, he got sentenced to 3 years for whatever he did.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
These people need to, wow. All right. So you got anything else you want to hit on in this little conversation we're having?
Not really. I just hope and pray that our country can take a turn for the better. I just feel we're so bifurcated right now, and there's so much hate, and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I mean, it just does not feel good. There's so much ugliness and so much hatred.
Let me ask you this: in the classes that you teach, you're teaching college kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sociology, right?
Criminal justice, criminology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. What is the reaction that you're getting from your students to the points of view that you express?
I think they get kind of angry. I try to get them, angry about it.
Yeah.
About everything that's going on. And I think they are, and I think they're starting to vote, and I think they're trying to understand the enormity of the problem. And I think some of them also, they don't know what to do. They feel like they're just stuck in this place where they're always going to be seen as dangerous and violent, and they don't even know what to do. They're like, well, when we get pulled over by the police, what should we do? Because a lot of us run because it's TSU's a HBCU, a historically black college and university. So most of my students are black. Okay. When we talk about these issues, they get very vocal about, all the police brutality that they see, and they're like, what are we supposed to do? Yeah. If we try to protest it, we get beat. If we say yes, sir, and do what we're supposed to do, we get beat. If we try to run to protect ourselves, we get beat. We don't know what to do anymore. Uh-huh. And why there's so much. And that's when we're talking about stereotypes. That's one of those dangers of stereotypes, because hundreds of years we've worked to put this stereotype into place where black males are dangerous. Right. And it's to the point where it's just like a reaction of police officers. If they see a black person doing something, they react much quicker with force than they do if it's a white suspect. Like a white person can walk down the street. Oh, was that South Carolina? The young man that just walked down the street with the gun, the white man, or the white young man, and they didn't do anything.
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure.
Or it might have been. Oh my gosh, where was that? But I mean, and I was thinking to myself, if a black man walked down the street with a semi-automatic weapon, he would have been shot in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But they let this kid walk down the street.
Oh, you're talking about that kid was in Michigan, wasn't it? Michigan?
Was it Michigan? Yeah, it might have been.
Yeah.
But just walked down the street and started opening fire. But he walked down the street with a gun in his hand.
Yeah.
For at least a minute and a half, 2 minutes before he started opening fire. Nobody did anything. They just watched him walk down the street.
Yep.
During one of those Trump rallies or.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So where can people find your book?
Amazon.com.
Okay.
And I was going to get the link and I forgot to. But if you just search my name, Deborah Jean Burris-Kitchen, under Amazon, it'll pull it up. Also, if you look under my webpage, www.deborahburriskitchen.com, there's a link to my book on my webpage as well.
Okay. And it's Deborah, DEBRA, O-R-A-H,
Right.
Burris, B-U-R-R-I-S,
Right.
Kitchen, Kitchen
That is right.
.com. Okay,
Right.
got it. All right. Well, hey, it's been great talking to you, Deborah. And got any other words of wisdom before we sign off?
Just peace and love to everybody. Stop
Okay.
hating.
All right. Oh, one other thing before we do go. This question was rolling around in my head while you were talking. The kids that you teach,
Mhm.
do they give you hope?
They do. They actually do. We've got some really strong young adults that are coming out that I think
Mm-hmm.
have a bright future, and they're very politically motivated. Like I can
Mm-hmm.
see, I've taught for almost 30 years, and I've seen over the last 10 years or so, maybe less than 10, but the last decade, I've seen a lot more students interested in doing something, to bring about change. I mean, I
Okay.
used to like a couple of decades ago or a decade or so ago, the students would just listen and I'd be like, I'm saying this stuff and they don't act like it's a problem. I'd always question
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
why when I say this, do they not get upset? And I'm seeing more
Yeah.
of them get upset about the information I'm giving them in the
Okay.
classroom.
All right.
I think they're tired of
Uh,
watching their brothers and sisters getting shot down the streets.
right. For sure.
Hmm.
Um, so you said you were 4'8". Does, is that a disadvantage as a college professor?
Not anymore. When I first started, it was. I mean, I'm going to say maybe I just felt it was, but
You thought it
yeah,
was,
but I really think
right?
it might have
Yeah.
been just because it was. I didn't look like other college professors. I was very young. I was very small. And
Right.
and this was back when most college professors were men. So here I am, this
Uh-huh.
little blonde, young-looking faculty member, and I think it took a while for me to feel like I was getting any respect when I was presenting, my knowledge to the students. But now that I'm
Sure.
older, it probably just doesn't bother me anymore. I don't care. But also,
Okay.
I think age gives you a certain path as far as
Right.
wisdom and knowledge is concerned.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you said that guy that we're just anyway. You said that guy that uh, you were dating who blamed you for being
Mhm.
raped. You got rid of
Oh
him
yeah,
right
oh
away. You got
yeah.
rid of him.
He,
Did you replace him with anybody or
not
what?
for a long time, but yeah, he had to go.
But you did eventually
Oh
replace him,
yeah,
right?
I've been married for
Yeah.
33 years.
Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. All right. Well, listen, thanks so much. I enjoyed talking to you. It's a pleasure. And, this world needs more people like you.
Thank you. I
That's
appreciate
what I got to
that.
say.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed being on your program.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this Lean to the Left video and that you learned something as well. Please come back on a regular basis and check out our interviews with guests on topics that I hope you find interesting, entertaining, and enlightening. And you can check out the schedule of upcoming shows, guests, and topics at podcast.leantotheleft.net. You can also subscribe to our audio version there or to our video shows here at YouTube. And follow us on social media, Facebook at the Lean to the Left Podcast, Twitter at Lean to the Left 1, Instagram at BobGaddy_Lean to the Left, and TikTok at Lean to the Left. Our goal is to be informative and entertaining as we and our guests comment on the latest developments in the news and about the social issues that concern us all. This is Bob Gaddy signing off for Lean to the Left. Thanks for sharing your time with us.